Welcome to the Choice, Change and Action podcast, where you get to choose, change and take action to create a different today and a different future. These are my stories of choice, change and action, along with the phenomenal guests I have on here. From a really young age, I've always desired to create a change in the world. The planet has been a constant inspiration to me, and Access Consciousness has shown me the tools to know that anything is possible. And I keep choosing. What are you going to choose? Welcome everybody to Choice, Change and Action podcast. You are with Simone Milasas, your host. And today I have all the way from Italy is Mr. Christopher Hughes and Mr. Wesley Pullen. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello, Miss Simona.
I was going to say they're waving right now because not everyone watches this on YouTube. If you don't know we're on YouTube. You can see that. So you might actually just be listening to it. So, but if not, go on over to YouTube so you can check out just how handsome these boys are today and every day.
Hey, you're not so bad looking yourself.
Thank you very much. Wearing the spots for you, as we said, in the white pearls. So thanks for being on here. And I went to ask you guys a question before we started and then thought, no, you know what? I'm just going to ask you guys while we're actually live. And because, wow, how do I, this month, I've done a few odd sort of, well, not odd, but podcasts. And I wanted to sort of have this weaving to it that has the difference that you choose and how it's been projected at as weird. I mean, by the time this goes live, I already would have done my monthly call with my Choice, Change and Action membership, which, by the way, if you want to find out more about it, it'll be in the show notes. And this month it was called It's Only Weird If You Make It Weird, right? And I had a good friend of mine say this to me not long ago. And I went, God, you're so right. And it's like the only time that we make anything, we go, oh, it's weird, or I'm weird, or this is weird, or that's weird, or they're weird, etc. It's based on what I started looking at. Like, you know, when I hear something like that, I start to get this download of it's different. That's it. It's different. It's like, what if every single thing you chose was different and you didn't cast it as weird? So what I wanted to...
Who are the weirdest people I know?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's invite them on.
Besides me.
Have you called us?
Yeah, exactly. So, well, what I wanted to talk to you guys about was your sexuality, because I know Christopher Hughes, you're married. Wesley Pullen, you're married too. And it's like, and you're both gay men, beautiful, amazing, lovely gay men. And I know a lot about both of you. And I wanted to sort of delve a little bit into how that was for you, always choosing for you is the best way to say it, I think. Do you know what I mean? Like, Chris, man, I know stories about you. You crack me up as a kid. Different things that you've told me and how you never, well, this is my version, is that you never chose less than, you never chose what wasn't true to you, even though there was other people that may have projected something at you and you sort of went, well, this is what's going on. Like, you never stopped being you. And that's the message I want to get across, is don't stop being you no matter what you're choosing. And it just so happens I work with you guys and you're my friends, and this was the thing I wanted to go down. So can I just start with you, Chris? That's my little mini summary. Is what were you ever looked at or projected at that it was weird to be gay?
Oh, for sure. I mean,
oh, for fuck's sake, Simone, many times. No.
Not even just weird though, Simone, but like growing up when I did in like the 80s and 90s, being gay also meant AIDS in most people's worlds. So there was not only the projection of like, oh, you're a bit of an outsider in society. And at the time when I grew up as well, the only depiction you saw in the media of gay people were like really stereotypical, flamboyant, camp, promiscuous examples, or there was like a cardboard cutout of a gay character if they were included at all and was any representation in the media. So there was this like feeling of, wow, I am really different and there's no example and I'm probably going to get AIDS. So that's going to be my lonely, horrible life. There always was that projection. But as you said, for me, I never really bought that as real. Like, I guess my whole life and growing up, nothing I ever really bought as real that I was told I was or had to be my fate and destiny.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely had a different upbringing, that's for sure. You know, you also just reminded me when I was in India, I think it was the early 90s, and I was at this, like an ashram in a place called Amanagar, and there was a guy there, really lovely guy, Craig Holmes, San Francisco, like, you know, still alive. I still follow him, etc. And he showed up at this ashram, and he had HIV, right? And so he told people because he thought that was the respectable thing to do as well, like that. And I watched how people wouldn't want to sit next to him, or like he was cutting up a piece of fruit and he's like, do you want a piece? I'm like, yeah. And then people didn't want to take a piece of fruit from him. So we quickly, and he also had a Chemical Brothers t-shirt on. So I was like, oh yeah, dude. And so we quickly bonded, and I hanging out with him and being there. And it was not Indians. It was a whole lot of Americans that were there, and Australians and Canadians at this ashram. And I remember thinking, God, that is like such a strange concept to outcast someone for something that they have, which is not, you're not going to touch someone and get HIV.
I remember the same thing in the town that I grew up in when I was in high school. I used to go and volunteer at the AIDS hospice, and I would like feed people that were terminal, or just like prepare meals and snacks and hang out with these people. And I remember having friends going, well, you don't eat from the same cutlery, do you? Right. I was like, yeah, I do. No, and you don't like let them hug you, do you? And I was like, yeah, I do.
Yeah. Okay. So, and that would have been looked at as weird, right? So
totally
I want to,
yeah. I even actually, this is just a story, like at 16 years old, this was considered so weird. I had a television program reach out to me and want to do an interview. It was a program for the CBC, which is like our national broadcaster in Canada. And they were doing a show on risk, and they wanted to talk about the emotional risks of coming out. So I actually came out on national TV at 16 years old.
Oh, God bless. I love it.
Because I was involved with this organization, they found me, and I was just like, yeah, I'll do it. And then they said to me, but if you're not comfortable, we can blur out your face and disguise your voice. And I was like, well, that's not exactly coming out, is it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Wow.
And the projections, what was really interesting with that, Simone, was for so many of us that grow up gay, people quite often are fine to have the awareness of it, but don't want to talk about it. And it was actually coming out on television like that people in my family were embarrassed about, because they thought, well, now everyone's going to know. And that's an intense judgment to grow up with, or have pushed on you as a kid. Like, I was fucking 16 years old, and I was willing to be brave and courageous,
strong,
to talk about anything,
courageous, all of that, and
vulnerable.
Yeah.
But I got so invalidated for my vulnerability and willing to be that difference. But again, to my credit, I never made it real.
Well, I started chuckling then, because when you said people don't want to talk about it, and I was like, oh God, I've asked Chris so many questions about sex with a man over the years, including leaving a message on his phone not long ago, and he almost listened to it in front of people. I was asking him some questions, but I'm like, why would I not ask my gay friend about sex with a man and get more information? So, you know, ladies out there, I would highly recommend asking them what they know, because they know a lot, let's say that. So yeah. Okay, so Wes, let's skip over to you. And please, if you're listening to this, I would jump on YouTube, because it's really nice to see these guys as well. And they do
your beautiful face too, Simone.
Yeah, thank you so much. So Wes, you actually told me a story recently about, I think you were 6 years of age.
Yeah, I was about.
Yeah, and you're from South Africa, so you're a white man living in South Africa. Let's paint the picture here too.
Different as it is already. And I remember I must have been about 6 or 7 years old, and I walked down like the hallway of the house we lived in, and my parents lived upstairs. So you could hear all the conversations that they were having. And my mom's husband at the time said to her, you know, Wesley's gay, right? What are you going to do about it? And it wasn't until like that point that I didn't think anything of it. I thought I just loved everybody. And in that moment, I realized, oh, fuck, this is something wrong. So I completely shut off like all my sexualness and all my desire for looking at men. Because when you're a child, you do look at men and you find them attractive. And I didn't think it was wrong until that point. So I completely shut that off until I was in high school. And I realized, you know what, fuck this. I'm like, I like who I like. I tried having sex with girls. I tried having girlfriends. None of it worked and none of it ever felt like me. And I just got into this point where like, God, I just want to fucking have me.
Yeah. And that's actually why I wanted to ask you guys on the show. Yeah. Chris, what were you going to say?
No, I was just listening and like, yeah, amazing, amazing to see what we do to try and fit in a world. And the one thing I can say to that is, you think then growing up when you come out that you're going to find this community where you can be more yourself and you'll be more included. And what was so astounding to me is the gay community then generally has so much judgment as well about, because not only was I weird for being gay, I didn't fit in the gay community either. And I'm sure you can relate to that too. Like, I remember even growing up, everyone was interested in things like Britney Spears or whatever. And I was like, yeah, I like Mozart. You know, like I was always a nerd and like really different things than everybody else. And then there's also the side of it when you do become a little older and it becomes more of a sexually charged community where people are dating and sleeping with each other. And then there's the body judgment that comes along with being gay. Like the whole joke is there's thin, but then there's gay thin. And if
what's
you
gay
don't,
thin?
Gay thin is basically a corpse. And that's, I'm like, look, I've got no point of view. I just enjoy bodies one way or the other. But there's even within it, there's this desire to prescribe to an image or a look that makes us acceptable.
You know, which is, I watched this documentary on the way home on the plane the other day called Moby Doc. You know, Moby, the musician, does all like electronic music, etc. And he did this documentary and he talks about, he says, you probably think I'm going to make a documentary about my music, but I'm not. I'm actually making a documentary about, and this is in my words because I can't remember exactly what he said, but like what makes you happy sort of thing. Like how do you tick? Like what are you apologizing for? And because he's an addict and he goes through all these different places of being an addict and, you know, being famous and having all this money and, you know, staying in this hotel. He was getting these awards, the top awards in music industry. Next to him was Bon Jovi, P. D, him and Madonna. And he drank himself stupid and wanted to jump out the window and kill himself, you know, and all these different sort of variations. But one of the things he talks about, which I thought was so prevalent, is that he said, stop apologizing for yourself. Like stop apologizing for how you look. Stop apologizing for the shape of your body. Whether you're short, tall, you know, fat, skinny, it's like, you know, what color your skin is, or stop apologizing about your age, like all of it. He was like, what if we actually just start to embrace ourselves and go, hey, like literally, like, you know, what's The Greatest Showman? This is me, you know, this is me. So
yeah, I just wish gay still meant happy.
Do you remember the icebox? Do we still have the ice creams called a gay time?
Yeah, a golden gay time. Yeah.
Golden gay time. Yeah. Do they still exist?
Yes, they do. But there's been talk because of the Me Too movement and etc. There's been talk about changing the name because it's inappropriate. And I'm like, all I want is to have golden gay times. Let's do it.
Well, I remember they used to advert. I don't know, Wes, do you know what golden gay times are? You might be a little.
I do not know.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a great ice cream, right? But they used to have these adverts and they would be doing this thing about having a golden gay time. And everyone was like, you know, really happy and jovial and eating these ice creams.
Because it's been around 70 or 80 years when a gay time was a different thing.
Exactly. Well, I remember when I grew up with, I don't know if either of you will remember this, Bill and Ben, the flower pot men.
No.
Oh, there was literally two like flower pots and they had these fake plants in it. And it would go, Bill and Ben, the flower pot men. And then there'd be this whole skit like a cartoon. And they canned it because they said Bill and Ben were gay. They're plants. Like,
plants don't have sex.
Well, they also don't. they don't have a judgment.
Mm.
So tell me more about any stories that come to mind, because I love your guys' stories, and I think they're really empowering to other people to know that it's okay to choose for you no matter what. Like, Wes, you being a white guy in South Africa, and I stipulate white guy because South Africa has, I mean, Jesus, I remember apartheid and what that was like. I remember when South Africa, you know, they stopped apartheid and the South African team came over to Australia, and it was their first cricket match, and South Africa won, but the whole of Australia was just cheering because apartheid was done. Like, it was such a big thing. I mean, done legally, I guess, but yeah. So what was that like for you, and what?
Well, growing up, like, I was very lucky to go to private schools when I grew up. We grew up like middle class. We were all right. We weren't poor. We weren't like very rich or anything. So I went to private schools, and going to school, like, majority of the people were still white in school. Like, when we had like a couple Black people come to class, like, it was weird. And then I was like, oh, and I'm gay, and nobody else is gay. I thought I was the only one with this problem. And
So you did look at it as a problem.
yeah.
Why do you say problem?
Because the minute that I had heard that it was a wrong thing, it became...
From when you were 6?
Yeah, from when I was 6. And I got like severely bullied at school for being gay. And everybody teased me about it. And I never knew what it was really until I got a little bit older.
Wow. I didn't, because I wrestled.
Meanwhile, you were wrestling
because I enjoyed it. But people could tell I was gay, and the wrestling side of it intimidated them because I was, anyway, never mind. Sorry to cut you off.
I have no idea what I'm saying, but I think
you were talking about being bullied because you were being gay, because of being gay.
Yeah, people.
Yeah, but you also mentioned that you didn't know what it was, which I think is interesting.
No, I didn't know what it was, and I think this goes with a lot of things that in our worlds that become wrongnesses. We don't know that it's a wrongness until somebody else tells us, and we align and agree with that.
That is very true. Very well put. So I want to say right now, it's like anyone listening to this, if there's anywhere in your life that you've decided that you are wrong and that you are like walking, talking wrongness, we have a tool in Access Consciousness that you can use. And I'm just going to say all the emotional POVADs, which is all these places where you're avoiding and defending something, the emotional POVADs that hold that in place, because you don't need to hold it in place. You're actually allowed to change it, let go of it. And everything that that is, will you destroy and uncreate it? And you just go, yep, right, wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys, POVADs, and beyonds. And if you want to know more about
something about this too, for anyone out there listening, I was very, very lucky, and I'm very grateful that when I was a kid, I had some people that were willing to be there for me and that I could talk to. And if you would like, find me on social media and reach out, because you're not wrong and there's nothing wrong with you. But you can find me on Instagram at ismyhairtoobig and send me a message. I'm very happy to talk to you.
Is my hair too big?
With the number 2.
I've had people as well with kids that they didn't know how to relate to, and they put their kids in touch with me, and I'm so happy to contribute.
You know what? You should do a class. I'm just saying. But anyway, so yes. So, and we'll have your Instagram and all that sort of stuff in the show notes as well. So, but thank you so much for saying that, Chris, because I think sometimes people do have that perception that they're all alone and they don't want to reach out and ask someone a question or ask them for help. And there is so much out there that you can ask for help. So if you think you can't, you can. Okay. And it's like, just, you know, do what Chris said. Is my hair too big? Number 2 is his Instagram. You can also find both Wes and Chris on accessconsciousness.com as well. So back to you, Wes. You're at school, white, South African, growing up, like, you know, when did you start to be okay with it all? Like, and not go, you know?
I started to be okay with it all when, like, I had managed to find myself a really good group of friends that just really didn't give a fuck about any of it. And I was so lucky to have that. And also I was really lucky to have my mom, because we actually came out the closet together. Like, we were stuck in traffic in the car, and like, she had known that, I mean, she knew that I was into boys. I was bringing boys home and closing the doors, and she was bringing girls home and closing the doors. So we both like kind of knew this thing going on, and it was just the 2 of us living together. but we never really spoke about it, but we both knew what was going on. And we were
Right.
stuck in the car, and she said to me, you know, I need to tell you something. And I was like, what do you need to tell me, Mom? Because I know it was coming.
How
And
old
she
were
said
you?
to me, I was 16 years old.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I was really lucky that she always had my back with this. And she said to me in that moment, she was like, you know, I think I'm interested in women. And I was like, I know, Mom. You've been bringing women home and closing the doors. And then I said to her, you know, Mom, I think I'm interested in men. And she said, I know, Wes, you've been bringing men home and closing the doors. So, and that was the end of the conversation. Then we just got to like be who we are with each other.
Yeah.
And I'm always grateful that my mom never took the sides of like her ex-husband and tried to do something about it, the wrongness, you know.
Yeah. What are you going to do about him? Yeah.
Exactly. So that's where I would like so lucky to have my mom, and I'm forever be grateful for her not making it a wrongness. Because like my biological father, when he found out I was gay, like he took 2 days off work
To hang out and be with you.
No, to process the information.
Wow.
And I only found this out years later, because he had always been like really like we've always had this weird relationship that I don't know how to describe. When I told him I was, because I'm a hairdresser by trade, for those who don't know, and I told him I'm going to go study hairdressing, he said, hairdressing's for girls and you're not going to make any money. And I was like, fuck you, asshole. And then I went and made more money than he did. Then so I guess I was lucky to have my mom who supported me, and then my dad who I could like resist against and be like, no, fuck you, will watch me do it. So in that sense, I mean, yes, it wasn't great when I was growing up, but all of that made me who I am today, you know, and it gave me like a really good solid foundation to, you know, speak about it too.
Well, I was grateful traveling with you that you've done hairdressing, because you kept doing my hair every day. And I love that you said to me because I said, you know, how come you chose that? Because you've also done show jumping as well, like with horses. So you've done a few different things, and you're 24, right? So, but you said to me, well, as a white, gay South African man growing up in South Africa, what else do you do? You be a hairstylist, you know?
Yes,
and I laughed.
literally, that's like the stereotype. Yeah.
Yeah. So did either of you, I sort of know the answer to this, but other people are listening, did either of you ever attempt, besides being a hairdresser, to jump into the stereotypical gay man?
No, not really. But I think that when I did come out and realize that everybody knew, I gave myself permission to be maybe a little more camp. And there maybe was a period too where I tried it on to, like, for whatever reason, like to prove something, rather than it really being me and who I was, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, you go through these phases of exploring who you are and expressing yourself. And there was like a time where when I grew up, because where I grew up, it was quite a small place. It was a really small city in the middle of Canada, not that many people. I was definitely the only gay in the village from my point of view, and maybe tried to let others know that I was there. You know, I grew up well before Grindr or even Facebook, all right? So you needed to make it known a little bit if you wanted any attention, if you know what I mean.
How did you make it known?
Just being like, when you do grow up with gay being wrong at all, you try to modulate your voice and what you wear so that it's not too obvious. Like, especially if, like you're saying, Wes, getting bullied at all, you go, oh, well, then I need to turn down the flame so that people don't know that me immediately and I'm more accepted.
Yeah.
And when I got to the point of not giving a shit anymore, I had to kind of look at my life and go, okay, well, then I can reinvent and recreate myself and show up as whatever.
But that is it, because you spent so much time judging you and suppressing you that you almost have to find out who you are.
Yeah.
And keep choosing. I still run into things all the time where I'm like, is this even me? Or is this something that I judged so harshly and now I'm pretending not to be? And like, you're always going to run into these things, but the beauty of that is, like, on the other side of it is always more of you.
So that's what I was actually wanted to finish with today with you guys. What are some of the tools or questions that you've used to get that, like to have more of you?
It's like the easiest one that I'd love to give people out there listening is, what if you're not wrong? No matter what you look like, no matter what you choose, and no matter who you sleep with. Like, we're in a world today, 2022, where it's like gay is not even that big a thing for most people. There still are countries.
No, I know. That's why I wanted to do this. Yeah.
But also now there's things coming out and people are having the freedom to be trans, or instead of looking for a monogamous relationship, be in a throuple, or like there's all of these different ways of being and articulating how you are with sex and relationship or your identity. And what if none of it was wrong no matter what? Like, I know people who don't like sex, and that's a wrongness from a lot of people's points of view. And what if it wasn't?
Yeah. So I'm going to add to that and give a tool that we use in Access Consciousness of asking the question of what's right about me I'm not getting. And also you can add to that, what's right about this I'm not getting. So any situation that you're in where you sort of go, you know what, I'm being different, and then people cast it as weird, because that's his whole thing. People project at you that you're weird. And it's like, no, you're just choosing something different, or choosing something that maybe a lot of other people around you are not choosing. Doesn't matter. It's not relevant. Stop making other people relevant and ask the question, what's right about me I'm not getting? And what's right about this I'm not getting?
That is a phenomenal tool. What's right about this I'm not getting? I use that a lot because I used to find myself going into the, I can't choose this because this happened to me because when I was a child, or I can't do this because my dad was mean to me about being gay. And I eventually I was like, fuck, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. What gift was this in my life? As shit as it was, what gift is this? It, like I said, it made me who I am today, and it gives me like choices that I wouldn't have if I didn't have that, you know?
Yeah, wonderful. I love it. Thank you so much. I want to say thank you so much to both of you for being in my life, and thank you so much for being as brilliant as you be and being my friends. And I miss you guys. And you're in Italy and I'm in Australia right now. And you're about to go off and do a wonderful class, Chris. And thank you so much for coming on here and talking about this. And is there anything else that you would like to say to anybody out there listening that to create something greater in their lives?
Just go have fun.
What if the purpose of life was to have fun?
Yeah, stop trying to get it right and have a good time.
Yeah, that's it. Stop trying to get it right and have a good time. Boom. Va bene. Allora. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us here. Please, if you, share, do whatever, follow whatever you're meant to do on all these different platforms that we have at the podcast on. And thank you so much for being here. And thank you so much, Christopher. And thank you so much, Mr. Wesley.
Thank you, Simone.
Adore you guys.
Adore you too. Bye, Annie.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please make sure to hit the follow or subscribe button on your favorite listening platform to get notified of new episodes. We read all the reviews, so if there's any topic you would like to hear about, let us know. If you'd like to know more about the tools, information, and classes mentioned in the podcast, head on over to SimoneMilasas.com and follow me on Instagram at Simone Milasas, or the podcast has its very own link on Instagram at Choice, Change, and Action. Don't forget, you can download the show notes. And lastly, have way too much fun today.